Shabbat Shalom, everyone. So we are going to begin our service just a moment on page 103. And you'll note in our Siddur, our prayer book, there's always Hebrew on the right side of the page, English translation on the left, as well as commentary. In addition to having amazing bar mitzvah for the Shabbat, this is a very special moment. We just, in our own shul, made a decision, complicated decision, not easy, to lift the mask mandate. So we are now a mask-optional situation. That we are humbled enough to know that that may change at some later point. We'll see, hopefully not. But want to remind everyone that we will welcome everyone who's on virtually, who is safe in your home. Please, God, we hope and pray. We're glad you're with us to daven. And for those that are here in the shul sanctuary itself, we are a no mask judgment zone, okay? For those that choose to not wear the mask, we honor that. Those that choose to wear a mask, we honor that as well. And we're still going to be sensitive and careful. Rabbi Jenny and I are going to still wear masks at times of close distance and things of that nature. So we're in a very interesting moment here. But this is community. Community, we're going to honor and love our neighbors as ourselves and respect that everyone has a different perspective on this. Everyone has different medical challenges they may face or issues. We respect that. That's what we as means to love each other. So we know we're in a very interesting place in between. For some, it may be a little awkward. We're going to dance that together, but we do not judge each other here. We love each other here. That's what we do in synagogue, okay? So we're going to daven and express that love to each other and to God by rising together on page 103 for Birchot HaShachar's blessings of gratitude.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan l'sachvi bina להבחין בין יום ובין לילה.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שעשני בצלמו.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שעשני בת חורים.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שעשני ישראל.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם פוקח עברים.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם מלביש ערומים.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם מתיר אסורים.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם זוקף גפופים.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם רוקע הארץ על המים.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם המכין מצעדי גבר.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שעשה לי כל צורכי.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם עוזר בגבורה.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם עוטר ישראל בתפארה.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם הנותן יאהב כוח.
אמן.
122 ברוך שאמר והיה עולם ברוך הוא ברוך כזה מקיים, ברוך מרחם, אהלן סחטו, ברוך נמלך חנון. יחיד חעולמי מלך משובח.
יחיד חעולמי מלך משובח ופועדי את שמו הגדול. ברוך אתה אדוני מלך מעולם ותשבחו.
Amen. You may be seated.
So Shabbat Shalom, friends.
Shalom.
It's so good to be together. Those who are here in this space with us, those who are joining us from afar, we feel you as well. As we move into this section of our tefillah, of our prayer, we're still warming up, we're still arriving. We may have planted ourselves in our seats, wherever you may be, but our minds are still kind of catching up to fully arrive. And this week, we are in Parashat Tzav, the Torah portion of the week, in which we study and we are instructed in how to live. We're in the still towards the very beginning of the book of Leviticus, Vayikra, which concerns itself predominantly with the priests and with sacrifices. It can be very hard, I say this personally, to kind of relate to the sacrificial system. It's not what we do today. What we do today is prayer and acts of loving kindness and tzedakah, working towards justice in the world. That's how we show our connection and our gratitude and repent before God. But this is the system that used to exist for our people. But I want to suggest that one place that we can connect is that this is also sort of an instruction manual for the priests. And though we don't have priests today, the priestly orientation is something that we can embody. And the priestly orientation is one in which we slow down enough to really stop and look. Priests of old not only coordinated and facilitated the offering of sacrifices, but they were also the physical healers. They were the ones that stopped, and if you had some affliction on your body, they would turn towards you and look carefully and closely and slowly. And to me, that orientation is also a Shabbat orientation, one in which we slow down, and instead of kind of turning away, which we can often do in our busy lives, there are endless distractions, and there are so many things that we don't want to see or that we don't have time to see. On Shabbat, we are invited to slow down enough to really look at our own afflictions, to look at the afflictions of the world, to look at the blessings in our lives and in the world, and to do so with kind of an eye towards holiness. So I invite us through our tefillot. We have many wonderful guests here. The Siddur the prayer book may feel completely foreign. No worries, you don't have to be on the right page. It's really just a moment to slow down, to look carefully on the inside, and to be in community. So we're going to continue this morning with Ashrei. We warm up our hearts and our voices with psalms. And so we continue on page 136. Just grateful that we can be Yoshvei Beitecha. We can just sit and know that we're sitting here in God's house. Ashrei Yoshvei אתה ויד עולם. We continue on page 141 with Psalm 150. The last line is Kol haneshama tehaleliyah. All of the soul praises God, offers gratitude. So we can think about that as kol, every soul. We can also think about it as kol, every part of our own soul. So we actively engage our wholeness in Judaism, all of our parts. We bring all of our feelings, all of our worries, all of our concerns, all of our joys, all of our gratitude, and we bring that to our tefillah, to our prayer. Kol ha-neshama Take a deep breath, Nishima Mukha, as we prepare for Nishmat Kol Chai. The soul breath of every living being has its own prayer, its own song to sing. Page 145. Nishmat Kol Chai, Tibarech et Shimcha, Adonai Eloheinu. Ilufinu amale shiragayam. Ilufinu male shiragayam. Hallelujah. Male shiragayam. Ilufinu male
Bottom 146.
Miyid mela umishvela umiarola El hagadol hagibor v'nora El elyon kon hashamayim v'haaretz Nelelecha neshabechecha nfa'ercha nvarech Et Shem Kodshecha Kamor
Ledavi b'chinu shirnai Lehor ramai
Et Shem Kodshecha Ha'el b'tatzmat uzecha
Hagadol b'kvod shemecha
Ha'kibur lanetzach V'hanora b'norotecha
147
Ha'melech
Hayoshe Ha'izera v'nisa Shochenan ma'aro V'kadosh shemo V'chatur anu tzadikim b'Adonai Leisharim navatihila
Yeshanim titala
U'divrei tzadikot tidbah
U'milshon chasidim titroma
ובקרב קדושים תתקדש ובגלות רבבות עמך את ישראל.
להודות, להלל, לשבח, לפעל, לרומם, להדר, לברך, להקלס על כל דברי שירות התשבחות. דוד בן
Please
ישי,
rise. 148.
עבדך
משיחך,
ישתבח
שמך, לעד מלכנו, מלך הגדול, הקדוש בשמיים.
ברכות והודות, מטבע עולם, ברוך אתה אדוני,
ברוך שמו,
המלך הגדול בתשבחות, אל הודעות אדון הנפלאות, הבוחר בשירי זמרה, מלך העולמים, יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בלמד יברח ירותי, וימליך מלכותי, בחיי חון ובחון, ובחיי כל בית ישראל, פגע לו בזמן קריב ימרו, אמן. יש מרבה מבורא, לעולם עולם ועלמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי קודשה, בריחו לעילם מנקו ברכתה ושירתה, תשבחתה ונחמתה, תמידן בלמה וימרו, אמן.
149, a slight bow for the Baruch.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
You may be seated. 150.
We prepare for the Shema Yisrael, in which we declare God's oneness, with the blessing for creation, for light, for darkness, for shalom, for wholeness, for peace. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam yotzei or v'roeh oseh shalom uvoreh et hakol hakol
וגוי ישבוך קודש אדוני יצעקו בדה בכל יום דרשה ויזרח הוציא חמה ממקום אבנו משינקה ודומך אלוהים מעשים ורשימה
כרך אדוני אלוהינו בעולם הזה ואין זולתך מכן לחיי עולם הבא אפס פתח גואל אלימות המשיח ואין דמך למשיענו כתביעת המתים
151
אל אדון הגול המעשים ברוך ומבורך
ויגון אל שמיים לא בטובה לעולם דעת ותבונה סובבים אותו מגאי ענת הגודל לכל מקוון טוב מאוד שבאנו יסם בדו ויסקל ונמזים ותונוגה שמחים בצאת וססים ברוך שבח נותנים לו נותנים לו כל צבא מרום דיבר וגדולה סרבים ואומרים בחיות הגודל לששבה 152 תיבל מאוחר נגוע מיושבה זה ישיר השמשים מזמן שמיושבה טוב להודות לאדוני תתברך וישתבח שגם הכנס Top 153
כולם אהובים, כולם
ואוהים,
כולם גיבורים,
וכולם עושים באימה וביראה. כל נם בואים אביהם
בקדושה
תורה
ותורה, בשירה ובזמרה, ומברכים ושברים ומפארים ומעריצים ומקדישים וממליכים את שם האל המלך הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, הנושע. וכולם מקבלים עליהם עול מלכות שמיים זה מזה, ונותנים רשות זה לזה, להקדיש ליוצרם בנחת רוח, בשפה ורעה ובנימה קדושה, כולם כאחד עונים ואומרים ביראה,
קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות מלוך הארץ כבודו,
והאופנים והיות הקודש ברעש גדול, מנסים לעומת צרפים לעומת המשחררים,
אומרי ברוך כבוד אדוני
במקומו.
ברוך לימוד ידך וחיים וסדר פרגרו דשכל שוד בעל מלחמות זה
אור חדש על ציון תאיר, ונזכה כולנו מהרה לאורו. ברוך אתה אדוני יוצר המאורות.
Page 154, Prayer of God's Love. Into the Shema Yisrael, it's customary to take the four corners of your talit, the tzitziot, bind them as one, symbolic of the oneness of God. Ava Rabbav Tanonai Eloheinu Chemla Gdora V'Tiracham Atalim V'Rachamana Merachim Merachim V'Venis Chmishmi Tabek Debez V'Techa Echei Davinu נגיל לשמחה בשורתך.
קרבתנו לשמך הקדוש אל הבאמת, להודות לך ויחדך באהבה. ברוך אתה אדוני,
ברוך הוא ברוך שמו,
הבוחר בעמו ישראל באהבה. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושינתם בבניך ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך ולכתך בדרך, ובשופרך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו תותפו בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך.
Page 156, והיה אם שמוע תשמעו את מצוותיי אצלכם ביתנו. הישם לכם בנפת לבבכם וסעתם ונשתחוויתם להם אחר אף אדוני בכם השם. ולמסתובב שמתם לבבכם ענף שקשת למדתם ביניכם לבבכם וכתבתם בביתך ושלמד ביום ציצי זכרתם את פה מדינה ותדור אחי לבב תזכו.
Adonai Elohim Emet
יציב
יציב נכון וקיים ושם
נו עבדים וקוגם
לדור ודור הוא קיים ושמו קיים וחיסון נכון ומלכות ומלכותו לעד קיימת
157 עלינו ובנינו דודינו
אמת שאתה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ממותינו מלכנו מלך אבותינו ממותינו גואלנו גואל אבותינו ממותינו יוצרנו צור ישועתנו עודנו מצילנו מלם שמך אין אלוהים זולתך עזרת אבותינו ממותינו אתה ומעולם
נגעים ושלום לבדו ומאום עולם משבח משפטיך אשרינו לך יצחק אותנו נאלוהינו נידענו צדקת הזמן middle 158
לאל עליון ברוך ומרב משה מרים ובני ישראל לכנו שירה בשמחה רבה ואמרו כולם מי כמוך בעלים אדוני מי כמוך נדר בקודש נוראתי לו אוסף פלא שירה חדשה שיבחו גאולים לשמך שפתיים יחד כולם הודו והמליכו ויעברו אדוני
Please rise if you're able.
לעולם
158.
צור ישראל גובה בעזרת ישראל ופתחנו מלכה יהודה וישראל גואלנו אדוני צבאות שמו קדוש ישראל ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
Amen. So let's have we place our feet together and towards the ark, towards Jerusalem. Pages 159 through 161, we'll pray and daven together. The rest of this prayer is the Amidah we do quietly and silently, just a prayer, a whisper between us and God. According to the Torah, this is a Leviticus, the sacrifices. No longer we have any sacrifices anymore. So rabbis say we do sacrifice of the heart. We give a prayer from our heart. So we begin together with opening prayers, but the rest is done silently. Chance for each of us to look inside of our own heart and either in a whisper or just close our eyes. What do you and God have to talk about this Shabbat? What do you need to offer up as an offering from your heart on the Shabbat? So 159 to 161 together. Rest is silent Amidah.
Adonai sifatai tita uviagi teilatecha Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei avotenu imotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka אלוהי רחל, אלוהי לאה, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר יחסי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גואלים לבניהם למען שמו ויאהבה, מלך עוזר ופוקד מושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם ופוקד שרה אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני מחיה מתים עטריו להושיע משיב הרוח מוריד הגשם מחכה חיים בחסד מחיה מתים ברחמים רבים סומך נופלים ורופא חולים ומתיר אסורים ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר מי כמוך בגבורות ומדומהן לך מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה ונאמן אתה לחיות מתים ברוך אתה אדוני לחיי המתים נקדש את שמך בעולם
Adonai Zevon, Velo Haaretz Yevodu. Az Bekol Rash Gadol Adir V'Chazak Mashmi'im Kol Nitnasim Le'om HaSerafim Le'om HaTzav Baruch Yomeru Baruch Adonai ממקומך מגנו טובי ותמלוך עלינו כי מחכים אנחנו לך מתי תמלוך בציון בקרוב בימינו לעולם ועד תתגדל ותתקדש לתוך ירושלים עירך לדור ודור ונצח נצח ועינינו תראינה מלכותך כדבר אמור בשירי עוזך על ידי דוד משיח צדקך ימלוך לעולם אלוהי ציון לדור ודור הללויה לדור ודור נגיד גודלך ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש ושפרך למונים פינינו לשלם ועד כי אל מלך גדול וקדוש אתה ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. Amen. You silent prayer. Kaddish Shalem, page 161.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה,
אמן.
בהלמד יברח חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחיי חון ומחון, ובחית כל בית ישראל, בגלה בזמן קריב והימנו, אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם עולם מהמיה יתברך. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ינסה, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי קודשה ברכו, לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמא והימנו, אמן. תתקבל צלותון ובותון לכל ישראל, קדם אבוהון דבישמי והימרו, אמן. יהי שלמה רב משמיה, וחיים לנו והכל ישראל והימרו, אמן. עושה שלום ממרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו והכל ישראל, והכל יושבי תבל והימרו, אמן.
168, Seder Kriyat Torah.
אין כמוך אלוהים אדוני ואין כמעשיך מלכותך מלכות כל עולמים וממשלתך בכל דור ודור אדוני מלך אדוני מלך אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד אדוני עוז למועידין אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום אהבת העמים היטיבה ברצונך את ציון תבנה חומות ירושלים כי בך לבד בטחנו
Please rise.
מלך הרב ונישא אדון עולמים מה יהי מנשוא אהרון מה יאמר משה
הוא אמר אדוני יבוצו אויביך וינוסו משנאיך
מפניך
כי מציון תצא תורה כי מציון תצא תורה אדוני מירושלים ברוך שנתן תורה תורה ברוך שנתן תורה תורה לעמו ישראל בקדושתו. Page 171, our bar mitzvah leads us responsively in Shema Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Echad Eloheinu, Gadol.
Turn towards the archives. There we go.
Gadol Shemo.
Gadlu Adonai iti. Good job. All right.
Lecha Adonai Agedula V'Gevura V'Tiberes V'Hanetza V'Ahol Kichol V'Shamayim U'Ba'aretz Kichol V'Shamayim U'Ba'aretz Lecha Adonai Hamamlacha Ve'amis Na'aseh Lechol Erosh Lecha Adonai Agedula V'Gevura V'Tiveret V'Hanetza V'Ahol Kichol V'Shamayim U'Ba'aretz Kichol V'Shamayim U'Ba'aretz Lecha Adonai Hamamlacha Ve'amis Na'aseh Lechol Erosh רוממות על אלוהינו והשתחוו לאדם רגליו קדוש הוא רוממות על אלוהינו והשתחוו לאור קודשו כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו Yalla, yalla,
Shabbat Shalom. Welcome. Shabbat Shalom. Hatzai Shabbos. Good Shabbos. Shabbat Shalom. Good evening. Shabbat Shalom, guys. Welcome. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Welcome. Good to see you. Shabbat Shalom. Good to see you. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Welcome. Shabbat Shalom. Hi, 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 hi. Hi, 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 hi. Hi, 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 hi. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Maybe seat everyone. Yeah, 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 yeah. So Shabbat Shalom, everyone. So great to see everybody. Of course, also people online joining us for Shabbat Shalom. We are going to be reading, of course, now from the larger red books. You can follow along in front of you. You have a larger red book as well. We are on page 621 in the Chumashim. As Rabbi Jenny noted, this is Parshat Tzav. There are 5 books in the Torah. The third book is called Leviticus. It deals lots with the Levites, or the tribe that dealt most with sacrifices. So a lot of this section of the Torah deals with sacrifices. Our Bar Mitzvah is going to talk about that, in fact, in his Devar Torah. So we're in Leviticus chapter 8, verse 1. Our first reader is Heather, is our chanter, and the first Aliyah to the Torah. Vayazor v'yagim v'shiyosim bo v'nomar mein hakol havud godel le'Eloheinu kavod laTorah yamod Avram Hanan ben Chaim Pinchas v'chavarei zel aliyah rishona Baruch shatan ton mo'isa b'lishato v'atem advikim Adonai Elohechem hayom hayom
Baruch Hu es Adonai Havarach.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam v'ed.
Baruch Atoi Havarach Le'olam v'ed. Baruch Atoi Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atoi Adonai notein haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vaydaber Adonai el Moshe lemor, kach et Acharon v'et panav ito, v'et havgadim, v'et shemen hamishcha, v'et par chachatat, v'et shnei ha'elim, v'et sal hamatzot, v'et kol ha'edah hakel, el petach ochel moed, vayas Moshe kasher tziva Adonai oto, v'tikahel ha'edah el petach ochel moed, vayomer Moshe el ha'edah, zeh hadavar asher tziva Adonai
לעשות.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam natan b'tochenu. Baruch Atah Adonai notein haTorah.
Amen. Shekar, Mr. President. Tov Shkret. Tov, our second aliyah. We are in verse 6, page 621. Tamoda. Rivka Chaya bar Aaron v'Leah l'aliyah shenit. Verse 6.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamvarah.
Baruch Adonai Barach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai notein haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. This is the wrong spot. There it is. Vayikra Moshe et Aharon ve'et banav v'yirchatzotam b'mayim v'yitein alav et hakutonet v'yachgor oto ve'evneid v'yal behishoto et hama'il v'yitein alav et ha'ephod v'yachgor oto b'chishev ha'ephod v'ephod lo baho Vayasem alav et hachoshen, vayitain el hachoshen, et ha'urim ve'et ha'tumim. Vayasem et hamitznefet al rosho, vayasem al hamitznefet al mul panav. Eitzitz hazahav nezer hakodesh ka'asher tziva Adonai
Et Moshe.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam notah b'tochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Shakwak Shai. Step back carefully, okay? From the other side.
Sure.
Our third aliyah. I invite Andy and Joel Gotshalk to come forward this time. We are now on verse 10, page 622. Yamdu Hanan ben Nachman Yitzchak Metzora Batya uMiriam bat Yosef v'Chana aliyah shlishit.
It says Dina.
Dina Resnick, our reader. Is Dina here?
Who is Dina?
Dina Resnick is our reader, is that right? No?
You need me to jump in?
Seriously? Okay. I guess I'm Dina Resnick this Shabbat. All right. Come on up. Here we go. Here, do you see the spot? Okay, cool. Go for it.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamvorah.
Baruch Hanevara Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Barak Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim. V'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. ויקח משה את שמן המשחה, וימשך את המשכן ואת כל אשר בו, ויקדש אותם. ויז ממנו על המזבח 7 פעמים, וימשך את המזבח ואת כל כליו, את הכיור ואת כנו לקודשם, ויצוק משמן המשחה על ראש אהרון, וימשך אותו לקודשו, ויקרב משה את בני אהרון, וילבישם כתונות, ויחקור אותם אבנד, ויכבוש להם מגבעות כאשר ציווה אדוני את משה.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Shakwach. Nice job. Mazel tov. Mazel tov. And the other side.
Definitely Mariano from the bullpen. I'll give it to you.
I just got a New York Yankees compliment. My Shabbos is made. That's it. It's done. So, our fourth aliyah, we invite Paul and Sarah to come forward. Paul and Sarah Sherman. This is the fourth aliyah. It's verse 14, page 622. Yamod peretz ben shalom pesach uberol l'aliyah revi'it.
Baruch Hu es Adonai Hambarach.
Baruch Hanevara le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim. V'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
I just have it. Yeah. Did I move too far?
Okay, it's over there.
Should be right there or there.
I think it's in this column. No, maybe I'm wrong.
Here. Amen. Vayagesh et par hachatat. Vayismoch Aharon v'anav et yedehem. Rosh par hachatat. Vayishchat. Vayikach Moshe et Hadam. Vayitein. al kanot hamizbeach savi be'etzba'o v'yechate et hamizbeach ve'et adam yatzak al yisod hamizbeach v'yikadeshehu l'chaper alav v'yikach et kol hachelev asher al ha'kerev ve'et yoter ha'kaved ve'et shtei ha'klayot ve'echel bein v'yoter Moshe hamizbecha V'et apa, v'et oro, v'et bisaro, v'et pirsho, saraf v'esh mechut l'machane, ka'asher tiva Adonai et Moshe.
Shekach. Beautiful. You got it.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam natan b'tochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Mazel tov, Shekach. Your step out the side here. So our fifth Aliyah, invite Barbara Sherman and Aaron Gotshalk to come forward together. Fifth Aliyah, Yamdo Beryl Bat Nachman Bat Nachman Avram Nachman ben Tzvi Hirsch ben Yamin v'Chana Liza Dalech Hamishit. But all please rise as they come forward for the Aliyah. We're going to offer a short blessing of prayer for healing. As I pause next to this prayer, I invite you to add the names quietly of those who you're holding in your heart who are in need of healing, body, soul, and spirit. Misha Berach Avotenu, Avram Yitzchak Yaakov, V'imotenu, Sarv Rachel v'Leah, Hu Yivarech v'Rapeh, Et Achonim, Mr. Mordechai, Moshe Mitzvah, Nechama Bat Yaakov, Rosh Mitzvah, HaKadosh, Baruch Hu Merachamim Aleihem, Lachzikam Rapotam, וישלח מרפואה שלמה מן השמיים, רפואת הנפש ורפואת הגוף. בתוך שאר החולים מחזק כדי הסכים בצרכיהם. שבת מזו קרובה קרובה לבוא השתה בגלה בזמן קריב, ונאמר אמן. May the Holy One who blessed their ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bring blessing and healing to all those we pray for. May the Holy One mercifully restore them to health and vigor, granting them spiritual and physical well-being, together with all others who are ill. And may God grant strength to those who tend to them. The Shabbat is a time to refrain from crying out. We had hope and pray that healing is at hand, and let us say together.
Amen.
Elana Revana La, Elana Revana La, Elana Revana La, Revua Shelema. Seated, everyone. Continue now with our fifth Aliyah. We are in verse 18, page 623.
Does that look right? Okay.
So Fred, get a little space. They can touch the Torah. Fred? Hey, Fred?
I think I'm right there.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Go ahead, guys. Fred, you got to move it a little bit, Fred. There we go. Okay, go ahead.
Baruch Hu Etz Adonai Hamvarah.
Baruch Adonai Barach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu michol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayikra et el hala vayismechu Aaron vaynav et yidem hack.
It's okay. Vayishat.
Vayishchat, Vayizrok Moshe et Hadam al מזבח סביב, ואת העיל ניתח לנתחיו, ויקטר משה את הראש ואת התחים ואת הפרה ואת הקרב ואת הקרעים רחץ במים ויקטר משה אל כל העיל המזבח לה הוא לריח נכח לריח לאדוני
כאשר ציווה אדוני את משה. יישר כוח, פרננדי, יישר כוח. You guys, okay, we're grateful. יישר כוח. טוב.
Put this on the log.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emes v'chayei olam nata b'tolchenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Watch your step. Okay, on this side. So, our sixth aliyah. I'm going to invite Norman and Susan to come forth this time. We are in verse 22, page 623. Yamdu Nachman Yitzchak ben Tzvi Hirsch v'Tzvia. Metzora Batya bat Avram v'Esther. L'aliyah Shishit. Sixth aliyah, verse 22.
Baruch hu et Adonai Yamborah.
Baruch Adonai Le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Yamborah Le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bacha banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayakrev et ha'ayil hasheni el hamiluim. Vayismechu Aharon uvanav et yedehem al rosh ha'ayil. Vayishchat. Vayikach Moshe midamo. Vayiten al tanuch ozen Aharon hayaminit ve'al bohen yado hayaminit ve'al bohen raglo hayaminit vayakrev et bnei Aharon vayiten Moshe min hadam al tanuch oznam hayaminit ve'al bohen yadam hayaminit ve'al bohen raglam hayaminit vayizrok Moshe et hadam al hamizbeach saviv vayikach et hachelev et ha'alyah ve'et kol hachelev asher al hakerev ve'et yoter et hakaved ve'et shetei haklayot ve'et chel behen ve'et shokayamin umisal hamatzot asher lifnei Adonai lakach chalat matzah achat v'chalat lechem shemen achat v'rakik echad vayasem al ha'chalavim ve'al shokayamin Vayiten et hakol al kapei Aharon ve'al kapei vanav vayanef otam tenufa lifnei Adonai. Vayikach Moshe otam me'al kapeihem vayakter hamizbecha al ha'olah Miluim hem l'reach nichoach ishehu l'Adonai. Vayikach Moshe et hechazeh vayanifehu tenofa lifnei Adonai me'el hamiluim lemoshe haya lemana ka'asher tziva Adonai
et Moshe. Shkoyach.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam notah b'tocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Mazel shkoyach. We now call for the seventh Aliyah, proud parents, Howie and Amy. We are now on verse 30, page 624. Ya'amdu tzvir Binyamin ben Nachman Yitzchak Metzora Batya. V'chana li Shabbat Shalom Pesach uberol l'Aliyah Shvi'it. So verse 30.
Baruch Adonai Hambarah.
Baruch Adonai le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Vayikach Moshe. He doesn't see where.
Okay.
Oh, Vayikach Moshe mishemen hamishcha umin hadam asher al hamizbeach vayaz al Aharon al begadav val banav val bigdei vanav ito vaykadesh et Aharon et begadav ved banav ved bigdei vanav ito vayomer Moshe el Aharon vel banav vashalu et habasar petach ohel moed visham tuchelu oto ved halechem asher besal hamiluim kasher tziveti lemor Aharon uvanav yocheluhu v'hanotar babasar uvalachem ba'esh tisrofu umipetach ohel moed lo tetzeu shivat yamim ad yom milot yemei miluechem ki shivat yamim yemale et yedchem ka'asher asa bayom hazeh tziva Adonai la'asot lechaper alechem ufetach ohel moed teshavu yomam v'layla shivat yamim ushmartem et mishmeret Adonai velo tamutu kichein tzuveti vayas Aharon uvanav et kohadavarim asher tziva Adonai
B'yad Moshe. Shekoach. Bar Metzora. Shkoyach.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Shekoach. We rise together. Yitkadal v'yitkadash me'ravat. Yamad yivrach yirotei v'amlich malodei. Hayehon ov yomehon u'ayro beit Yisrael. V'gala, v'gala, u'bizman
יתברך וישתבח ויתבר וירמה וינשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמרו רשע בריחו לילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה ונחמתה זמירן ויאמרו Amen. You may be seated. We now call up our Bar Mitzvah for his special aliyah. Yamod, 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 Bachor, Bar Mitzvah, Moshe Mazel, Ben Tzvi Hirsch, Benjamin Vachana Aliza, Lemaftir Chazak. So verse 33, page 624. Bar Mitzvah. Blessing, blessing.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim V'natan Lanu et Torato Baruch Ata Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Umi Petach Ohel Moed Lo Tetzeu Shivat Yamim Ad Yom Milot Yemei Milo Echem Ki Shivat Yamim Yemale Egedchem Kaasher Asa Bayom Haze Tziva Adonai La'asot Lechaper Alechem Ufetach Ohel Moed Teshavu Yomam Valayla Shivat Yamim Ushmartem at Mishmeret Adonai Velo Tamutu Kichein Tzuveti Vayas Aharon Uvanav Eight Kohadavarim Asher Tziva Adonai
V'yad Moshe Shkoyach. Zal tov.
Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Natan Lanu Torah Emet V'hayei Olam Nata B'tochenu Baruch Ata Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Simita v'mazel tov v'mazel tov simita. Simita v'mazel tov v'mazel tov simita. Simita v'mazel tov v'mazel tov simita. Helada. 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 Onecho Yisrael. Helada. Helada. Onecho Yisrael. Lift and dress the Sefer Torah. Yamod, Yisabem and Hillel v'Shor Rivka Magbia. Shai al Namod, Elaka mi Beit Lezrayenta ha Laglila. V'zot HaTorah asher sam Moshe Ibnei Yisrael B'Adonai Yad Moshe. You may be seated, everyone. We turn now to page 627 in your Chumashim, the large red books, for the prophet Jeremiah. The Haftarah, Vakasha. 627.
Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Bachar Binviim Tovim V'ratza V'divrehem Hane'emarim Be'emet Baruch Ata Adonai Habocher B'Torah U'Moshe Avdo U'Visrael Amo U'Vinviei Ha'emet v'tzedek.
Amen.
Ko Amar Adonai Tzivot Elohei Yisrael Elotechem Sifu Azivchechem Veichlu Vasar Ki Lodi Barti et Avotechem Velo Tzivitim Beyom Hoti Otam Me'eretz Mitzrayim Olivrei Ola Vazavach Ki imet haravar hazeh tiviti otam lemor shimu vekoli vehayiti lachem lelohim ve'atem tihiuli le'am v'halachtem bechol haderech asher atzaveh etchem leman yitav lachem Velo shameu, velo hitu et oznam, vaylechu b'mo etzot, v'shrirut libam hara, vayhiu le'achor velo lefanim, lemin hayom, asher yatzeu avotechem me'eretz Mitzrayim ad hayom hazeh, v'ashlach Alechem et ko avadai hanaviim yom hashkem v'shaloach velo shameu Eli velo hitu et oznam v'akshu et orpam heireu me'avotam v'dibarta alehem et ko adavarim ha'ele velo yishmeu elecha v'karata alehem Velo ya'anucha v'amarta alehem ze hagoy asher lo shameu bekol Adonai Elohav velo lakichu musar aveda ha'emunah v'nichreta mipiam gozi nizreich v'hashlichi us'i ashafayim Kina ki ma'as Adonai vaitosh et dor evrato ki asu v'nei Yehuda hara be'enai neum Adonai samu shikutehem babayit asher nikra shemi alav letameo uvanu bamot hatofet Asher begay venhinom lisrov et benehem vet benotehem ba'esh Asher lo tziviti velo alata alibi lachein hine yamim ba'im neum Adonai velo ye'amer od hatofet vegay venhinom ki imge harega v'kaveru v'tofet me'ein makom v'hayata nivlat ha'am hazeh lema'achal le'ov hashemayim uvehemat ha'aretz ve'ein macharid v'hishbati me'arei Yehuda umechutzot Yerushalayim kol sason v'kol simcha kol chatan v'kol kala ki lechorba tihye haaretz ba'et hahi neum Adonai yotzi'u et atzmot malchei Yehuda ve'atzmot Sarav ve'atzmot hakohanim ve'et atzmot hanaviim ve'et atzmot Yoshev Yerushalayim mikivrehem ushtachum la shemesh v'layareach uchol tzivah hashamayim asher ahevum
Vasher Avadum, Vasher Halachu Acharehem, Vasher Derashum, Vasher Hishtachavu Lahem, Lo Yasifu, Velo Yikaveru, Lidomen, Alpane Hadama Yihiu, Vinithar, Mavet, Mechayim, Lechol, Hashe'erit, Hanish Arim, Minha Mishpacha, Hara'a Hazot, Bechol HaMekomot, Hanish Arim, Asher, Hidachtim, Sham, Ne'um, Adonai, Tzevaot, Ko, Amar, Adonai, Al Yitalel, Chacham, Bechol Chmato, Ve'al Yitalel, Hagibor, Bigvorto, Al Yitalel, Ashir, Be'oshro, Ki im bezot, Yitalel, Hamitalel, Haskel, Ve'adoa, Oti, Ki ani Adonai, Osechesed, Mishpad, Utstaka, Ba'aretz, Ki ve'ele chafatzti, Neum Adonai. Baruch, Atah, Adonai, Eloheinu, Melech Haolam, Zur Kol Holamim, Tzadik Bechol Hodorot, Ha'el Hane'eman, Ha'omer, Velseh, Hamdaber, Kayem, Shekel, Devarav, Emet, Vatzedek, Ne'eman, Atahu, Adonai, Eloheinu, V'ne'emanim, Devarecha, V'davar Echad Midevarecha, Echor Le'yashuv, Rekam, Ki El Melech Ne'eman, V'rachaman, Ata, Baruch Ata, Adonai,
Baruch V'Shemo.
Ha'el Hane'eman, Bechol, Devarav,
Amen.
Rachem, Al Tzion, Ki Beit Hayenu, V'la Aluvat Nefesh Toshia, Bimhera, V'yamenu, Baruch Ata Adonai,
Baruch V'Shemo.
Mesameach Tzion, Bevaneha,
Amen.
Samchenu, Adonai, Eloheinu, Ve'eliyahu, Hanavi, Avdecha, U'malchut Beit David, Mishichecha, Bimhera Yavo, Ve'agel Libenu, Al Kis'o Lo Yeshav Zar, V'lo Nichalu Od Acherim Et Kavodo, Ki V'Shem Kodecha Nishbat Halo, Shelo Yichbeh Nero Le'olam Va'ed, Baruch Ata Adonai,
Baruch V'Shemo.
Magen David,
Amen.
Al HaTorah, Val HaAvodah, Val HaNavi'im, Val Yom HaShabbat Hazeh, Shnat HaTalanu, Adonai Eloheinu, Likdusha V'limnucha, Lechavod Ultif Aret, Al HaKol, Adonai Eloheinu, Anachnu Modim Lach, Umvarchim Otach, Yitbarach Shimcha Befi Kol Chai, Tamid Le'olam Va'ed, Baruch Ata Adonai,
Oshemo.
Mikadesh HaShabbat,
Amen. Shekach, our mitzvah. Awesome job. We now are going to hear from Max about his Devar Torah, his commentary, little sermonette on this Torah portion dealing with sacrifices. B'vakasha. Max, smile a little bit, okay? Enjoy it. All right, there we go.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
This week's Torah portion is called Tzav, which includes details about different sacrifices that we offered in the sanctuary of our people used in the desert as we wandered towards the Promised Land. The first offering is called Olah, or burnt offering. Moses has been told by God to tell Aaron and his sons to remove the ashes from the altar after the burnt offering every morning, and the priests have to keep the fire alive at the altar always. The second offering is called Minha, or meal offering. Aaron and his sons are instructed to bring a meal offering and present it on the altar. Then the priest shall season the offering on the altar, set it on fire, and eat any of the remains. The third offering is called Chatat, or sin offering. This offering is done if people have done bad things, but not on purpose to make it right. The fourth offering is called the Asham, or also called the guilt offering. This offering is when the priest burns certain parts of the offering and only the priest's sons are able to eat the offering. The fifth offering is called Zivach Shalamim, also called the sacrifice of well-being or peace. The offerings are to be offered as a way of peace. Part of the sacrifice is burnt on the altar, another part eaten by the priest who offered it, and a third part eaten by the person who brought it. The question I have is, since we no longer offer sacrifices as a way to connect with God ever since the temple in Jerusalem was destroyed, what lessons can we still learn from them? Rabbi Ashkenazi of Janau, in his book written in 1590, teaches that the Olah offering and the Chatat offering are used on the same altar to not embarrass and single out people who are only thinking of a wrong, along with people who committed a wrong. The rabbi was teaching that, sure, it is the rabbi asking the question why they use the same altar, and through his teachings, he answered his own question of why. In my opinion, with the rabbi's teachings, just because someone thinks of doing something wrong versus someone who actually does something wrong, that doesn't mean we should bring more attention to the person who actually did something wrong. Let's take everyone here sitting today as an example. If there was one person here that had thoughts of committing a crime, and there was another person in here that actually committed a crime, would it be right to single out the person who actually committed a crime in front of everybody to try and teach a lesson on how wrong it is to commit one? Or would it be best to address the group? I want to share with you a personal experience and my interpretation. One day, I was playing a video game online with a group of people, and another kid wanted to join our group, so he did. Shortly after he joined the group, a bunch of the kids started to pick on him and being mean to him. They then kicked him out of the group and continued to pick on him. I knew this was not right and spoke up to the group, letting them know that they were being too mean. I also went to a separate chat with the kid that was being picked on and apologized to him, letting them know that what they were doing was wrong. There are always lessons to be learned, and I chose to confront the entire group on how wrong they were, and then try talking with the kid who was being picked on separately. I did end up going back playing with the group, and looking back, I wish I did not. In conclusion, what makes traditions and interpretations of traditions great is we can learn and evolve from them, while keeping them close to our hearts and beliefs. The rabbi was teaching that, sure, it is okay to embarrass someone just a little for committing a crime over someone who might have just been thinking about it. However, I believe in field to help the greater. We should not single out, but rather address a group as the whole. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Awesome job, Metzora. We invite you to leave your papers there and come on down. Mom and Dad, come on up to the beam at this time. And Rabbi Jay will come behind. Awesome job. Deep rest. Look at that pride. Be happy, man. I'm impressed. I think you taught us the Torah of video games, man. I'm very, very impressed. Max, what a mensch, man. What a mensch. You know, I just saw your Hebrew name. I noticed it's Moshe is your Hebrew name, right? You know, and Moshe, what makes Moses so special is that even though he didn't necessarily ask for it, in a moment, you know, when God calls on him, he says, you know what? I'm going to stand up. I'm going to speak up. I'm going to speak up to the Pharaoh of the time. And I'm going to say what needs to be said and say the right thing against the crowd. And everyone likes it, but it's the right thing. And that's you, Moshe. That's you, Moses. In this video game culture, which I admit I'm just a little bit of I'm on the outside a little bit, but I have some boys in my house. I kind of familiar. I'm familiar, okay? I know that sometimes these things get out of control, a little thing here and there. Most people just kind of, stay quiet, stand idly by, we say, right? But you, Moses, okay, you said, no, I'm going to stand up. These sacrifices here are meant not to embarrass, but to honor, but to remind us to act properly, to act morally, to do the right thing. And even you yourself admitted, which I give you a lot of credit for, that even though you did an amazing thing by standing up for the one kid who was picked on, you even said you wish you didn't go back to it. I said, you don't have to put that in your Devar Torah. You don't have to tell the whole everybody. You didn't mind. That's Moses-like quality, man. Because you're saying, hey, I'm not perfect. It happens. I know your parents think you're perfect, but you're not perfect, okay? Joking. I'm joking. I know. I'm joking. But that's what perfect is, man. Perfect in Jewish view is not, no one's perfect. But when you make a mistake, you honor it. And when other people make mistakes, you don't let it sit by. You speak up for it. That is totally to your credit, my man. That is awesome. Speaks a lot to your character, and may that only continue. That the Torah is about sometimes going against the grain. Sometimes calling people out, like a mensch, but calling them out. And also admitting sometimes that we all have something to grow on. All of us, including the rabbis, all of us are trying to do better. Kol hakavod. Awesome, awesome teaching, Max. We're really proud of you. Really proud. We rise together and give a special blessing. Place a talit on his head by his parents.
the oldest words in our tradition. Oh, Max. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you and keep you. Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu. O God, the God of our foremothers and forefathers. May you bring down your blessings this Shabbat on this wonderful bar mitzvah. Help him to continue learning your Torah, to being connected to it, but also embodying it and bringing it to life. Help him to always have the strength to go against the grain, to speak up when he sees something wrong, to be willing to stand up for people that perhaps are being picked on or left out, that you honor all people of all backgrounds, all people in every situation, and you will give him the strength to always use his voice to say what is right. Max, may God bless you and keep you. May God's face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May God always look upon you and grant you peace. And we say together, Amen. Okay, parents can go back to the table. The parents can go back to their seats. We now turn to page 178. We remain standing at this time for prayer for peace. We invite Big Sister to come up where I'm standing as she leads us a special prayer for peace. And this prayer for peace always is meaningful on any Shabbat, any time. But as we've been offering specific prayers, certainly for Ukraine and the people of Ukraine who are courageously standing up for their freedom and their rights against a modern-day Pharaoh, we hold them especially in our prayers. The prayer for peace, responsibly 178.
May we see the day when war and bloodshed cease, when a great peace will embrace the whole world.
The nation will not threaten nation, and the human family will not again know war.
For all who live on earth shall realize we have not come into being to hate or to destroy.
We have come into being to praise, to labor, and to love.
Compassionate God, bless the leaders of all nations with the power of compassion.
Fulfill the promise conveyed in Scripture. I will bring peace to the land, and you shall lie down, and no one shall terrify you.
I will rid the land of vicious beasts, and shall not be ravaged by war.
Let justice and righteousness flow like a mighty stream. Let God's peace fill the earth as the waters fill the sea. And let us say,
Amen.
Thank you so much. We now invite those honored to turn the Sefer Torah to the Ark to come forward to the beam at this time. Continue with Yehalelu, page 183.
Yehalelu et Shem Adonai,
Ki nizkar shemo levado, Adonai eretz shamayim, vayarek et li'abo, tila bechol chasidav, livnei Yisrael afkirovo. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Mizmor David, Havul Adonai Meili, Havul Adonai Kavonos, Havul Adonai Kevod Shema, Ishtavul Adonai Behadrat Kodesh. Kol Adonai Lamayim, Melakavodirim, Adonai Almayim Rabim, Kol Adonai Hakoach, Kol Adonai Behadar, Kol Adonai Shover Arzi, Shover Adonai Zehavanot, Vayarkivtem Kemo Egel, Levanon V'Sirion Kemo Ben Reimim, Kol Adonai Chotzev Lavotesh, Kol Adonai Achil Midbar, Yachil Adonai Midbar Kadesh, Kol Adonai Chol Ayalos, Vayachesof Yarot Uvechalo, Kulo Mer Kavod, Adonai Lama Buliyashav, Vayeshev Adonai Melech Leolam, Adonai Hod Le'amo Yiten, Adonai Yivarech et Amo V'Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Meusha derachea Noah Nesivotea Shalom Ashirenu Adonai Elecha V'nashuva Seat everyone. Shkoch. Very good, everyone. Shkoch.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Yasher Koach to our Bar Mitzvah. Mazel Tov to the family. It's wonderful to be together. Yeah. So it is our custom here at Beth Meyer to share some words of Torah, not in the form of a formal sermon, but to study together. And everyone is welcome to participate, whether you're here visiting, whether you're Jewish or not Jewish, everybody, even the Bar Mitzvah family, everybody's invited to participate. We used to pass around a microphone in the before times, but we don't do that right now under the situation. So if you share a comment, we'll paraphrase and repeat it so the folks at home, not only everyone here can hear, but the folks at home will be able to hear on the YouTube live stream as well. All right, so you'll find your text on the back of your announcement page, the bulletin that you picked up on your way into the sanctuary. Hopefully, if you didn't get one, you can look on with somebody else, or you can head to the back and get a sheet. And again, we're studying from the Torah portion today, Tzav. We are in the midst of this section that deals with the sacrifices. Our Bar Mitzvah spoke very beautifully about that. Moshe and Aharon, sort of the two main high priests, are teaching us about how the sacrifices were offered. The Kohanim and the Levim, the priests and the Levites, are learning how to prepare the specifics of those korbanot, what parts they can eat, what parts they can't eat. Interestingly, this is how the priests, which were the ancient rabbis of the time, were paid for their work. Just speaking for myself, I'm grateful that we are no longer paid in
barbecue.
Yes, in animal fat and hide. But truthfully, it can be difficult to make connections to this sort of messier part of the Torah. Our Bar Mitzvah did a beautiful job of that this morning. But we're going to look deeply as well. The rabbis of ancient times, who lived in the time of the Mishnah and the Talmud, when our most sacred texts in our oral tradition were being put together, also struggled to make connections because the temple had been destroyed and we were no longer offering sacrifices. But there is, in fact, much wisdom to be gained. So we're going to continue in that centuries-old, millennia-old conversation, making connections between these ancient practices and our modern lives. And so we're going to focus in. Max talked about the last category of sacrifices that were offered was called this Zevach Shlamim, this well-being offering. And of course, within this category, there were even more specific examples. We're going to focus in today on the Todah, the thanksgiving offering, but it's part of this larger category of Zevach Shlamim, well-being offerings. So, Rabbi Eric, will you read this verse from the Torah, Leviticus 7:11?
Awesome. So it says, this is the teaching of the sacrifice of well-being that one will offer to God. Emphasis on the future will offer to God.
Right.
Okay.
So we're going to, one of the things that the rabbis did is they looked very, very closely not only at each word, but of the grammar, and in this case, the tense of the verb, which is being spoken here in the future. So the difficulty or the detail that I want to draw everyone's attention to is something that the Midrash, our stories, our ancient stories notice, which is that this particular language about how this offering will be offered is actually different than the way the other sacrifices, most of the other sacrifices, are described in this week's Torah portion. And specifically, that it's something that will be offered. And there's a midrash, a story that focuses in, again, on one specific type of this korban shlamim, this well-being offering, which is the todah, the thanksgiving offering. And it suggests a potential reason why it is that this offering is being described as being offered in the future. All right, so now we're going to read the midrash, this commentary from hundreds and hundreds of years ago, to offer one potential explanation of why this verb tense is used.
Okay, so Rabbi Pinchas, the name Rabbi Levi, and the name Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Menachem of Galia has been passed on. In the future, all sacrifices will be canceled, but the Todah sacrifice, one kind of well-being shlamim sacrifice, will not be canceled. All prayers will be canceled, but prayers of gratitude will not be canceled.
Okay, so just for starters, the rabbis here are imagining a future and a world kind of like a perfect world, a world in which there is peace, in which the things that we see that are broken both inside of ourselves and in our world have been healed. So why do you imagine that in a perfect world, there would be no other sacrifices needed to be offered, no other prayers needed to be offered? What kinds of, how do you understand that? What do you think?
Me or everybody else?
Either one. Rabbi Eric, do you want to start us off?
You're holding off on the issue yet about the sacrifice?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, look, the whole sacrificial thing is violent, okay? It's bloody. I mean, describe the bar mitzvah 3 red piece, like, you're supposed to take the blood and put on the corner of various things and body parts and the altar. So it's not, even if they're less sensitive to vegetarian, like, animal rights and stuff like that. I'm not saying PETA is involved in the Torah here, okay? But anyone would say it's a very, violent, deadly, it's a serious thing. I mean, it's very serious. So the idea of eliminating sacrifices in general, I could imagine many people would feel that's positive. That's one. Second of all, the animals are for food and for clothing and other utilitarian needs. So, every time you're giving up a sacrifice of an animal, certainly back then, but to this day, you can imagine, you're giving up some of your significant part of your property. So I can imagine everybody saying, someday we hope we don't have to dedicate so much of our income, our resources towards this. And then, the last thing I would say, basically, is that, God doesn't need this anymore. The sacrifices are done primarily because we make mistakes, we do something wrong. Our mitzvah said, other things, but all that in a world of complete peace, of messianic time, we're doing much better than that. We don't really need the system in the same way. I mean, it's wonderful to imagine that. It's hard to imagine that because we're not perfect, but that it's no longer necessary to relate to God in this way. There's a different way to relate to God, but not this way.
Mm-hmm.
That's my take
Absolutely.
on it.
Does anybody else want to
Why do sacrifices end when the world is perfect? We got Ellen over there.
Ellen Adelman.
Yes.
The only one that we're going to need is the Thanksgiving kind of to show up. Because we're not doing anything wrong. We're all focused on the right path.
Okay.
Great. So Ellen's describing that in a perfect world, there aren't crimes being committed. There aren't those kinds of big mistakes. And so the only offering we really need, she's beautifully paraphrasing what's in the Midrash, is going to be a Thanksgiving offering. Because that's eternal. Yes, Amy Rips.
So what's curious to me is why any of them kept, right? If you don't need the sacrifice or the prayers, why this one? And what comes to me is that if we give up being grateful, we run the risk of slipping back to bad behavior. Right? It's that constantly being aware of the blessings that we have that keeps us on the straight and narrow.
Beautiful. So Amy's, narrowing our focus, which is what I wanted to do. So thank you. That why specifically, if we don't need any of the sacrifices, why keep any of them? What's specific about the Todah, the Thanksgiving offering? And she's suggesting that without that constant attention to gratitude, we run the risk of slipping back into those behaviors that hopefully we've evolved from. Absolutely. Yes, Risa. Nice. Okay, so Risa's saying, in a perfect world, those other offerings that we were trying to gain something. There's something to be gained either in our sense of atonement or our sense of inner repair because of something we're done. It's self-serving on a certain level. But with the gratitude offering, we're creating the world. We're giving an offering that helps create this beautiful world that we want to be a part of. Beautiful. It's outwardly focused. Yes. Dodalisa. Oh my gosh, I love that.
I'm not a Hebrew expert, but I think the word Yaakriv comes from the same short as correct, which is to bring one closer.
Yes.
So therefore, I think it's sacrifices to bring us closer to God.
Nice. Okay, beautiful. So
Said from amazing rabbinic family. You know who that is? It's my sister. Okay.
took me a second.
She's married to a rabbi too. Shkoach, Lisa. Lisa, love it.
So the word in Hebrew for to offer a sacrifice, it comes from the word that means
Karot.
to draw
Nice.
close. And so even in a perfect world, I think she's suggesting that this would be a pathway towards drawing closer to the divine.
Amen.
Beautiful.
Awesome.
Yes, Mike, tell us.
I think to follow a little bit what Amy said, I think that the danger of losing gratitude is thinking you deserve it.
Seriously.
And that's very dangerous because if somebody doesn't have as good a life as you do, it's easy to think they don't deserve that. And this is very much my mind in Ukraine. I lived in Yemen, and there are pictures from the war zone there. I don't know that I recognize any building, but I recognize the kind of building that was in the capital city when I was living there. There were pictures from Somalia. At one point, there was a big battle going on in this one building. It was the K-10 compound, we called it. It was a place I used to go to Friday night barbecues at. And people, it happened to be the tallest building in the surrounding neighborhoods, so both sides were battling for it. And I have that sense too when I look at Ukraine, is that particularly when it's a modern city, you see this destruction. And understanding that people in those situations may only have horrible choices. They may not, they may have you forced to make really, and I think that certainly the Talmud reigns with this. We have, because of our history, we see people having to make these horrible choices. If somebody comes to you and says, turn over this man, I'm going to kill your community. That's a horrible choice, horrible ethical choice. And the fact that I don't have to make those ethical choices is something that I need to be grateful for. So I think it's very easy if you stop being grateful for that. I saw this thing that when there was various things going on for me out in the White House, I said, we're not a banana republic. I'm like, we're not different from those people. We're not fundamentally different. They didn't choose to grow up in a country where they can't get an education, where they're the wrong political party, they're tortured. They didn't choose that. So I think it's important to be grateful, understand that but many of the blessings, are, at least in my life, are undeserved.
Amen.
Because the alternative to that is saying, I deserve it. Well, if you don't have it, you don't deserve it.
Right.
And I think that's a really toxic attitude towards it.
Wow. It's like grace as well. Well, Mike's going to be very profound. Mike, also, some of you maybe are saying, Mike is once in the Peace Corps, and he lived in Yemen, so he has a particular sensitivity to places around the world that have gone through a lot of challenge and difficulty, especially around war and refugees and all kinds of challenges. But he's explaining what it's like to, I'm trying to summarize a very profound comment that was a little longer, but basically the idea that there's much in our life today that is undeserved. We got some things, and he's talking mainly, I think, about American society, current dynamics, but looking at Ukraine, that it's not like many people are inheriting a situation that did not have a lot of agency about, and then they're left with very bad poor choices amongst the options. It's not like they're limited in their options. So one of the questions I think Mark's really bringing forward at Ukraine or other places or even ourselves is, to what degree should we be grateful, or how can we remember and not feel entitled or like we deserve, but a sense of gratitude that we stand on the shoulders of something that came before us. We got things we didn't earn ourselves, and that a lot of people in the world don't even have those things that we already have that we consider basic. And I think it's a very profound point to say in general, one of the powers of traveling abroad, which all of us have been limited to do during COVID, but the power of it is, in addition to learn about other countries, it's such a privilege to be able to see it, but you realize about what's in your own country. Sometimes there are things other countries say, wow, I wish our country was more like this, but many times being Americans, we think, oh my God, I can't believe they don't have what we consider to be so basic. for the most part, clean water, right? I mean, most part, you turn on the electricity, it turns on. Many countries where there's cut off electricity many hours a day, don't have consistent. Not to mention, you have a police person, you're expected to bribe them just to get to work for the day. Now, again, are we perfect? Of course we're not. But the idea is, I think what Mike's really touching on is, how do we maintain a level of gratitude for very basic things? And yet, and this is why I was going to push a little bit on Rabbi James de Vartor, I think it's a powerful thing, but then not be so in a place of, oh, I'm always grateful that I can't ever, again, Mike wasn't saying that, but I think this is a tension that we have to live with. Like, some of us need to be more grateful more often. Some of us need to kind of focus on, not being silent amongst that crowd. It's like a tension between the two things. I think it's a profound point. We live in that place. Absolutely. But if we don't feel grateful at all, everything's wrong, and with no sense of what we've unearned, that's a problem. That's a deep, profound problem as well. It might lead us to more sin. I think it's a great point.
Yes,
great point.
Absolutely. Adi.
Yeah.
In the morning, yes.
Yes. Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice. So Adi's suggesting that all the first prayers that we say in the morning, even from just opening our eyes, are all focused on gratitude. That's the foundation
of your day.
And it's not about giving up anything per se, but it's really about acknowledging the gratitude of just being alive.
Amen.
And so even in a world, I'm sort of now extending this, even in a world that was perfect, let's say, that has no sin and no problems, that's still the foundation. That's still that we're grateful for our lives, and then we start there.
I just wanted to dovetail on what Adi's saying, because I think this is the challenge, again, to give another nuance to this. How to say grateful, but also not silent, right? Not saying I'm not willing to criticize or be concerned or try and push, but to live in that tension. The other tension is that, because I think where gratitude gets put to the rubber to the road is when something bad happens to you, right? If something bad happens, your health is affected. I mean, look, COVID, right? One way to look at, we had so many B-Mitzvah, the Gotshalks have got under the wire here, right? It's a very interesting moment for them. Thank God, It's amazing. But them as an example, right? Most people are like, well, this is normal bar mitzvah, whatever. Normal, you kidding me? Like, it's unbelievable. No, not everyone has to wear a mask. And I know these guys are grateful. I know they are. I'm just saying, but on the other hand, the people that had COVID B-Mitzvah, there were some where it was me, Jenny, 3 people, and everybody's on there. Now, it was terrible. No one's saying it was good. It was bad. It was really bad. But they went 1918. There was no in Spanish where there was no technology. We couldn't do anything. Everything was canceled for 2 years. There was no Yom Kippur. We were reading all these research on history. There was nothing. No church, nothing. So the fact that we could have anything was amazing. But, it wasn't perfect. How do you deal with that tension between staying grateful when bad things happen? It's hard, because it was a great feeling of loss as well. We felt it too.
Yeah.
All right, you're fit. Yes, please.
In the back.
So, for a sacrifice to have meaning, it has to be your property. It has to be something that has value to you.
Yes.
In the utopia, your wants should be taken care of, and you have nothing to sacrifice because nothing is truly valuable.
You're fair. It's true. You have a point.
So in suggesting why it would be that we wouldn't need korbanot in a future world of perfection is that when you sacrifice, you're giving up something that's precious to you, something of value. We imagine that in a world that is perfect and fully redeemed, everybody has what they need.
Very nice.
Absolutely. So I want to segue into Rav Avraham Yitzchak Cook, who was the first chief rabbi of the British Mandate Palestine, just before the founding of the State of Israel. He has a very beautiful comment on gratitude and why that is something that endures, why it is such a critical part of our humanity, regardless of the world that we're living in. So Rabbi Eric, will you read where it says?
It says, when the existence of gratitude and recognition of the good becomes lacking from existence, the spirit of man is left without sparkle or shine. Therefore, it is impossible for existence not to include this perfection, because it can only come when there's a free will involved in the benefit of creation. So he's basically saying that what makes creation shine, basically what makes the world beautiful,
yes,
is gratitude within it.
Correct. So that gratitude, and I think Risa kind of touched on this in her comment, that an expression of gratitude, of noticing the good, of feeling our blessings and actually giving voice to that, that is that quality inside of each one of us that actually, not only, I love the idea that it sparkles, it shines. The Hebrew is ziv v'zohar. You know, it radiates light. And we know that. I mean, you look at somebody who's grateful, they do radiate a certain kind of light. And that actually is sort of an expression of the fullest form of our humanity. So when we imagine a perfect world, it's hard to imagine, but when we try to conjure up that imagination, part of what brings about that perfection and that pervasive goodness is that we all have a deep sort of access to our own gratitude, to that ability to see the blessings in our lives.
No, I'm thinking about this in terms, again, I'm touched by Ukraine and kind of what other comments are made. So then those people that under very extraordinarily difficult circumstances, someone who's been diagnosed, for example, with cancer, but still finds a way to find gratitude amongst really horrible situation. I mean, God forbid, the Holocaust. This is the remarkable test. But at the same time, yes, it's actually possible to see, even in one's experience, like their soul shine in these places. It's incredibly, it's admirable beyond words. But maybe that's also the key to a life well lived, even when things are a little bit better, right? Is that can we maintain gratitude in all these situations? Remember, not feeling entitled, but really appreciating as best we can some of the basics, because it's not always going to be there. Nothing is guaranteed, you know? All these things can be taken away in an instant, sadly. So how do we hold on to that? That's what makes life sparkle.
Exactly, and I would even argue that it is in our capacity to kind of keep bringing this forward, to allowing that gratitude sacrifice, that gratitude prayer to shine, that might bring about a better world. And as you describe, you know, some of those B-Mitzvah kids in the sort of the worst moments of COVID when we were in lockdown, and even though there were just a few of us in this space, there was an extra
There was.
Z.
I
There
was so
an
impressed.
Extra
It was perfect.
light.
People did feel grateful, even though it was very disappointing for all of us. There was a sense of, well, okay, we'll take what we can get. We're still here. And by the way, there's also this issue about pride of survival in a certain way. There's a very strong Jewish value that even if everything is against us, the world's against us, we're not going to let that stop us, was a really touching Jewish connection as well. I think it's a very profound point. Well
Yes,
said.
Harry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. No, great
point, Harry.
Great observation, right? So there are certain offerings that are required, that would be required, like tithing offerings, and there are offerings that would be required if you've done something wrong. But in this case, we're talking about something that is completely discretionary, you know, above and beyond, and suggests a certain kind of generosity of spirit, which I think also would help lead to the kind of perfect world that I imagine, a world in which there is a sense that we all have what we have enough, and we can offer generously above and beyond that. Aaron.
Until he was diagnosed with liver cancer from his alcoholism. And he became very, very bitter because of that. And he died bitterly. And so I think it's important to still feel that gratitude, because in the end, he became a better person, but he lost that kind of feeling because of his cancer. And so I think he would have had a much more easier time passing away if he was grateful for the fact that he changed his life.
Wow. Thank you, Aaron, for sharing that. That's very, very touching. Aaron sharing that her grandfather was so grateful, and so it's very touching. You're willing to share that here in the congregation. It means a lot. Her grandfather was an alcoholic for a significant part of his life. Then he recovered, became sober, thank God, was living a better, more meaningful, nicer, kinder, compassionate, but then ended up dying of liver cancer. And I'm assuming you're implying here, Aaron, that he became maybe bitter at God or bitter at the world. Well, I changed my ways, I stopped what I was doing, and then I ended up dying of a disease that essentially was caused by the earlier alcoholism, and he was very bitter. He was unable to maintain or kind of touch into a certain sense of gratitude for that period where he recovered, we'll say, because it went back to the fact that, well, I thought maybe I put that behind me. And it really, Aaron's saying that perhaps he would have died with a greater peace if he had been more in a grateful perspective. And I want to say this is such a powerful story, and I think this is the eternal challenge of every human being, is how do we maintain that when the life brings us all these very challenging situations we don't expect. I mean, this is quite dramatic. But I think that all of us on some level deal with situations where we think we've gotten past it, we've gotten over it, and oh my God, it revisits us again. And are we able to react differently in that circumstance? It's very difficult. It's so hard. It's pattern behavior. I say this as a person who loves routine. It's very difficult. So I think Aaron's saying it's a very important lesson. Can we hold on to the values in our best moments, even when things go bad again? And that is a spiritual challenge for all of us. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Aaron. Yeah. Wow.
So, yes, Richard.
Yeah.
An essential component of humanity is striving. And if you're not grateful, then you don't strive. Because the earlier point,
you give up. Someone.
You deserve it. You deserve the perfection of God.
Wow, I love that. So Richard's suggesting that, part of our our humanness is that we strive. And if we...
Certainly a positive humanness, right?
Yes.
Not everyone may do it, but it would be ideal.
Yes, and if we stop being grateful and sort of slip into an orientation of entitlement, we can lose that drive to keep working towards a better world. Absolutely. So I just want to conclude on this just very short teaching by Rabbi David Teutsch, who's a modern rabbi. And he says, cultivating an attitude of gratitude is crucial for Americans who are conditioned, right? All the messages we're getting around
Consumer
us.
culture. Yeah.
To believe that we never have enough, no matter how much we have. Choosing to acknowledge just one blessing each morning is a good way to begin to train the heart and spirit to notice personal blessings and to move from a perspective of glass half empty to a glass half full. And I want to suggest that this word shlamim, we talk about this category of offerings, these well-being offerings, comes from the word shalem, which means whole. And part of us growing in our own, hopefully evolving humanness is also the work of becoming more whole. And that means that part of our wholeness is also this ability to offer gratitude, to know the blessings in our lives, and then hopefully work to share them with each other so that we can build a better world together.
Amen. Amen. Shikach,
Yeshar
Shikach. Great
everyone.
learning, everyone. Shikach.
You can tuck your texts away. We're going to continue now with Musaf.
Can we rise together as you are able? Page 184, Chatzi Kaddish.
יתגדל ויתקדש מרבה, ברכה תברח חירותי וימליך מלכותך,
מהיום וביומך ובחייך בית ישראל, בגלה ובזמן גריבים אמן. יהי שמרה במבורך לעולם והוויה יתברך.
וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי קודשך בריחו אלא מכל ברכתה ושירתה טוב והדר ונחמתה תמיד עד ביומה
ואמרו
אמן.
So, Chaver, our feet together again, facing Jerusalem. Pages 185 through 187, we daven together. The rest is done silently.
Adonai
Sevatai tina uviagi teilatecha Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei
Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואמהות, ומביא גואלים לבניהם למען שמו ביאהבה. מלך עוזר, ופוקד ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ופוקד שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה מתים את הרב להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, להגל חיים בחסד, מחיה מתים ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו, לשני עפר, מי כמוך בגבורות, ומדומה אליו, מלך ממיד ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי המתים.
אמן.
נא נצחה ונקדישך כצוציח שרפי קודש, המקדישים שמך בקודש ככתוב על ינביאך.
וקרא זה ויאמר, קדוש קדוש קדוש,
אדוני צבאות,
מלך כל הארץ כבודו.
משרתיו שואלים זה לזה, האם מקום כבודו לעומתם, ברוך יאמרו,
ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו.
ממקומו הוא ייפן ברחמים ויחונם, המייחדים שמו ערב ובוקר, בכל יום תמיד פעמיים, באהבה שמה אומרים, שמה ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד, הוא אלוהינו, הוא אבינו, הוא מגנו, הוא מושיענו, והוא ישמיענו ברחמיו שנית לעיני כל חי, להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ובדברי קודשך כתוב לאמור, ימלוך לעולם אלוהיך ציון, הללויה לדור ודור נגיד קודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, ושבחך לא מפינו למושל עולם ועד, כי על מלך גדול וקדוש אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Amen. Continue with silent prayer.
עושה שלום במרומיו,
הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל גוי ישראל ועל גוי יושבי תבל ואמרו אמן.
Page 203.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה,
אמן.
בעלמא דברה חירותי ומלך מלכותי, בחייכון ומהון, ובחיית כל בית ישראל, בגלה בזמן קריב ויאמרו
אמן. יש מרבה ממורה לעולם ועולם יתברך.
יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי קודשה בריחו לעילם ינקו ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה תמירן בעלמה ויאמרו אמן. תתקבץ לא תרבות עוד לכל ישראל קדם עמון בשמי ויאמרו אמן. יהי שלום ברור מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ויאמרו אמן. עושה שלום רומא
הוא יעשה
שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ויאמרו
204. אין כאלוהינו. אמן.
אין כאלוהינו, אין כאדוננו, אין כמלכנו, אין כמושיענו, מכאלוהינו, מכאדוננו, מכמלכנו, מכמושיענו, נודל אלוהינו, נודל אדוננו, נודל למלכנו, נודל למושיענו, ברוך אלוהינו, ברוך אדוננו, ברוך מלכנו, ברוך המושיענו. אתה הוא אלוהינו, אתה הוא אדוננו, אתה הוא מלכנו, אתה הוא מושיענו, אתה הוא שהתירו אבותינו לפניך את הסמי עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית שלא עשנו גרי ארצות ולא עזבנו כמשפחות האדמה שלא שם חלקנו גהם כגורלנו ככל המונם ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
ששמיים יעשנו את צמו שביקרו בשמיים משנה. כן נקבל לך
ונאמר היה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ היום ההוא ביום ההוא כי אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
May be seated. We turn now to page 207. Invite those in mourning or observing a yard site this Shabbat, Shabbat Tzav, to rise for Kaddish Tom, Mourners Kaddish, 207. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה.
אמן.
בעלמא דברה קירותי וימליך מלכותי. בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל. בעגלה ובזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם עולמי. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא. ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשה בריחו. לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמה ויאמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ויאמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומם הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ויאמרו amen. Seated everyone. It's time to invite our president Kisa Tiski and our bar mitzvah to come stand right here. Max, as our president will offer gifts on behalf of the shul and some announcements.
Come over here, Max. Nice to meet you. Good. I want to welcome everybody here today and offer congratulations to all the friends and family of Max. I tell you, it's a special day. I still sometimes think of my own bar mitzvah. I certainly think about my children's bar mitzvahs. The point being, this is a day that you and your family will not forget. And you certainly made the most of it by doing an outstanding job, obviously in your preparation and in your delivery. And I'm sure everybody's very proud of you, as they should be. And so, to help you continue your Jewish journey, this should not be the end, this should be the beginning. I'm pleased to present you with the following gifts, which I won't pull out, but they are here for you. a mezuzah and kosher parchment from our sisterhood, a Tanakh and a certificate of bar mitzvah from the Beth Meyer Board of Trustees, a Kiddush cup from your bar mitzvah class. And we hope that as you bring Shabbat into your home, you will remember this special time in your life. I read that you are into Taekwondo. I had a son that was involved in that, and I thought it was a very meaningful part of his life. And I'm glad to see not only are you a student of it, but you're giving back your knowledge as an instructor as well.
Amen.
I think that shows a lot of dedication and the knowledge that you have to give back what you've learned. So you stand here today as an adult member of our congregation, and we're very excited to watch you continue your Jewish journey as a member of Beth Meyer family. Mazel tov.
Mazel tov,
Amen.
man.
Mazel
As they
tov.
shikach,
Beautiful.
shikach. All right. Yeah, sure. Go for it. Go for it.
All right. Greetings again, everybody. I'm going to just give you a summary of what is going on, shul happenings. We have an adult education brunch, the Jewish Environmental Movement and Farming in Raleigh. This Sunday, join us on Zoom from 11 to noon for a discussion with Anya and Arthur Gordon and Bonnie Leach about their urban agriculture venture, the Well-Fed Community Garden. Eat, be satisfied, and bless. Mindful eating, which is the opposite of what I normally do, which is called scarfing. This three-class series led by Rabbi Jenny Solomon begins Monday, March 21st from noon until 1:15 p.m. on Zoom. Learn, unlearn, and relearn our own indigenous Jewish wisdom on how to eat in peace.
Amen.
And finally, Scholar in Residence Weekend honoring Amy Ritz. Join us at the below events featuring Professor Richard Freund, a leading archaeologist and Jewish studies scholar, as we celebrate Amy's amazing contributions to our community, which indeed they are many.
Amen.
Register at bethmeyer.org/calendar. Friday, March 25th, 6:30 to 8 p.m. Shabbat dinner. Saturday, the next Saturday, 8 to 10 p.m. Havdalah, desserts, and a short talk on Shabbat and archaeology. Saturday, March 27th, 10 a.m. to noon, Sunday morning brunch, and Finding the Great Synagogue of Vilna presentation. Thanks, everybody.
Awesome.
Shikach.
Shikach. Great job. Remember, we have Minha tomorrow at 9 and Wednesday at, some Monday morning at 7:30 on Zoom, Rabbi Jenny, and Wednesday at 7. If there's,
Wednesday at 5:30.
I'm sorry, Wednesday, exactly. Thank you. Wednesday at 5:30. So what happens, I've had, just need more sleep. Okay. We welcome all the family here of the Gotshalks and friends. We're so glad to have you with us. So excluding you for a moment, if there's anyone else here who is visiting here and doing shul shopping, kind of checking us out, or new to the synagogue, or first time here, we'd like to embarrass you, make you stand up and introduce yourself. Someone like to anyone here visiting for the first time or newish Jewish to here? Fine, please come. Will you tell us who you are? We'd love to hear who you are. Please stand up. Wonderful. Okay. So you made Aliyah to Raleigh. You came up to Raleigh from Pinehurst.
Yay.
We're so glad to have you here. Welcome to our congregation. Okay, we're glad to see you. We'll look forward to talking to you at the Kiddush luncheon. Awesome. Anyone else? Yes, please. Awesome. She also made Aliyah from South Raleigh. Awesome. Glad to have you here. Welcome. Welcome. Anybody else? No? Oh, please, yes. Which part of New York? Which part of Westchester? Which town? Oh,
all of it. All of it.
This is the old country. We know exactly where you're from. Don't worry. 1,000 people know exactly where you're from. If you said New Jersey, it'd be 5,000 people, but it's okay. And Brett, welcome. We're glad to have you finally find the promised land down here. As we used to be said, Asher would say, welcome to God's country. That's what he used to say. All right? Great. Anybody else? Welcome. Yeah? Okay, fantastic. Please. Awesome. Cool. Yeah.
And we come to visit and to learn and to have a deeper appreciation for other
Wonderful. Absolutely. We're so glad to have you here. Welcome. I've been to your church before in the past for other occasions. We're so right off Six Forks, right? That's the one, right? Exactly. We're so glad to have you here. Welcome. Welcome. Please. Great. Fantastic. All right. That was wonderful. You fit? All right. We're going to wrap up now on page 211 with Adon Olam.
Adon Olam, Asher Malach,
Asher Malach,
B'terem kol
B'terem nira et nasa, v'hefzer kol zamer l'shemo nikra Adon Olam, v'yacharei kiklot hakol, levado yimlok nara Adon Olam, vehu haya vehu hoveh, vehu yeveh Adon Olam, vehu echad v'yein sheni, להכשילו להחמיר אדון עולם, ולראשית ולתכלית, ולעוז והמשא אדון עולם, והוא עיני וחי גולי, וצורך לי ויצרה אדון עולם, והוא ניסי ומנוס לי, ונקוסי ביום אקרא אדון עולם, אדון עולם, אבגיד רוחי, ותשען וירא אדון עולם, ואם רוחי גוויעתי, אדוני לי ולא ירא אדון עולם. כן ברך אדוני את יום השבת וקדשהו סברי.
לחיים.
Amen.
לחיים.
Baruch. Hamotzi lechem. Take a bite. Haaretz. Shabbat Shalom. Kiddush Shalom, everyone. Shabbat Shalom.
Kiddush
Mazel
Shalom to
tov.
the social hall, inside and outside.
Outside.
Shabbat
Mazel tov.
Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom. Our service is concluded.
Steve, great job. Great one.
Good job. Just go ahead. Got the job done, baby.
Thanks,
Taekwondo. That was good. Taekwondo was good too. That was good. It was good. You read the butt. You